Also over 100,000 passing yards in his NFL career. Tremendous. Cade Otton with the honors. His first NFL touchdown. You don't think this win means something? I get it. The Rams are not the best team in the world. But the Rams have had the Bucs number in history. 79, 99, the last couple years. So how sweet is it for the Bucs to pull off that win? How sweet is it? Can you hear my mom in the background? Can you hear the family in the background? Again, not the prettiest effort, but it may have saved the season. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television live here on I Love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. It's the Sports Web as your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to save the phone calls, even though I posted the number up there. Stand by. We'll get out to the phone lines in just a moment. Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not dead yet, are they? National media. Some of you out there calling them dead after the Steeler and Panther games. I get it. But once again, champions rise to the challenge. I like that. Do you like that? Let me go in and fire the cannons for that. As the Bucs beat the Seattle Seahawks 21-16. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Hold off on the calls. As I said, I set the table, you come to eat. And this offense ate early. Maybe not necessarily the first quarter, but the second quarter. How nice was it to see the man on a milk carton, but the last 3 games, a touchdown for Julio Jones. How nice was it to see Tom Brady in this game not throw the ball 50 times a game? How nice was it to see Rashard White become the Bucs running back after Leonard Fournette goes out? How nice was it to see this Tampa Bay Buccaneer rushing attack finally take off, make a commitment to it? And how nice was it to see Mr. Devin White? God bless you, kid. You've been through a lot of adversity, haven't you? But as I talked about, champions rise to the challenge. White today, 9 tackles, leading the team, 2 sacks, causes a fumble. First time the Bucs defense does that in 5 games. The momentum was on the Seattle Seahawks side, and Devin White in that defense comes up big. We talked about the matchups in this game. We knew the challenges were there. This is a good team. Make no mistake about it. But today, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are back to 500 going into the bye week with all the momentum in the world. Now you can call in 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Hold off on it real quick. White, once again, God bless you. Losing your father, I know how it is to lose a parent. You played tremendous today. Bucs Nation has your back, kid. Let's go out to the phone lines. Mr. Ed, welcome to the evolution after your Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Seattle Seahawks 21-16. Go.
Hey, I had an early morning watch party I'm at with Tammy and Michaela here at their house in the morning. We had breakfast, watched a good Bucs game, Really excited. Go Bucs. Hey, guys, say hi. It's Go Bucs!
Yeah, I like it. Love it. Good stuff. All right, what do you want to say here?
I want to say I'm very proud of my team. They played very well today. It got a little closer than I wanted to with the Brady interception.
Agree.
We got through it. We got through it. We're 5-5, and now the season begins.
Yep, and again, they saved their season last week. This was a big game because if you lose against the Seattle Seahawks, everything you did last week basically goes by the wayside. You're 4-6, still in first place, but now you carry that momentum over. The offense got in gear today. The offensive line did a hell of a job opening up those holes with the running game. Rachaad White absolutely stepped up, over 100 yards rushing. We talked about it. He brings another component, Ed, that Leonard Fournette may not necessarily doesn't bring to the table, and that's elusiveness. That's, somewhat vision and patience. I love this kid, and Leonard Fournette had to go out of this game with the hip injury, but it was the commitment to the running game, commitment to be a balanced offense. That's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were today.
What did he only have, like less than 20 passes today, Brady?
22 for 29, 258, 2 touchdowns, and the 1 interception. First time he's thrown an interception in 400 straight pass attempts, which I think he was like only 4 away from setting the record, which is amazing in itself. But 29 compared to 38 times running the ball.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Right?
That's how you play offense. That's how you take the pressure off of Tom Brady. And even Brady talked about it, how embarrassing the effort was on game day. They rose to the challenge. As I said, coming in, champions rise to the challenge. What else, Ed?
You called it. You called it, Peter the Great. You called it right on Rachaad White. I'm telling you, this kid is special. I've been saying it for a while. I really like him, and I think they should run him more, actually.
Well, they're going to probably run him more because it looks like Leonard Fournette could have a hip injury. He didn't return in the game. We'll check the status at the end of the day. But even with White not running the ball, the commitment was to run both running backs and use what they had there and once again take the pressure off of Tom Brady, and that's what they did. That's not to say the Bucs didn't do a great job today when it came down the third down conversions, because when Brady got the time, which he did a lot today from that offensive line, he was able to convert those third down conversions, and that was also the key for this offense. And look, they left some points on the board. We can talk about that ridiculous call. I get it. You're trying to be creative, Byron Leftwich, but not necessarily the time and the place. We'll get back to that in a moment. I'll tell you what, Ed, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. Let me go ahead and give you the Ric Flair.
Appreciate you too, Peter the Great.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Go
Use
Bucs.
that second call. Go Bucs. Let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution, Rick, as your Tampa Bay Buccaneers come back to 500. Go to 500, 5-5 after defeating the Seattle Seahawks 21-16. Go.
Oh, I was so happy that Leonard was able to make it on the plane to make it to Germany.
Okay. I don't know. Yes, it was nice for him to make it on the plane. Absolutely. Because there was some type of passport problem.
Cheers. Cheers to the boys. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yep. Thank you. Let's go out to Dave. I don't know what that was all about, but go ahead, Dave. After your Bucs go to 5-5, go.
Hey, I just thought after a rough week for me, turned out to be a good Sunday.
Good. Good,
But,
my friend. Good.
Yeah, fortunately, I had to bury my dad Wednesday. So.
Sorry to hear that. And I think that's, I prayers are with you and your family, my friend. But at least the Bucs could win for you, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Part of life. Part of life.
Okay.
But I thought Brady was super focused. I think from the beginning of the game on, he just pretty much told me, he says, "We're not losing this fucking game." Excuse my language, but he's just like, "We're not losing this game, guys."
Right.
No matter what. I think everybody had the same mindset. Pretty much, the defense played awesome, especially in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they loosened up a little bit in the second half, but of course, Seattle made their adjustments. So, but I thought definitely the young kid, when he first made his prediction at the beginning of the year that he was going to be the starter, he might just be right, because he might be a starter here soon.
Well, I tell you right now, Rachaad, and most likely Rachaad White's going to get more carries because, as we talked about there later on in the game, Leonard Fournette was hurt with a hip injury. we'll check the status on that. But as I've said, I think this offense is a lot better, a lot more explosive with White. You can see the stiff arm today on Diggs, pushing him out of the way. I mean, that was the attitude of this game. We're going to come in there and we're going to kick your ass with this run game. We're going to be balanced. We're going to take the pressure off. We're going to rise to the occasion. Champions rise to the challenge. And that's what this team did today early in Germany. What else, Dave?
I just think if we play like this the rest of the year, even if it's not exactly to the same par that we did today, there's probably no one that can probably beat us.
That's it. And they've got too much talent to be where they're at. But at the end of the day, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And this team has a second half to finish up. Good stuff, Dave. Let me go ahead and cut you loose here. Let me give you the Byron.
Bucs,
Let me give you the Ric Flair. Appreciate the call as always. As he lost his father and is going through, but is still watching the Bucs game and still watching the evolution of sports talk television. I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and go out to these comments. I don't know why my laptop decides to not have any sound at first of it. It likes to play games, but that's okay. Now you can hear me. That's good. Let me go out to Tim here. Rashard White, the new victim of volume, definitely has that explosive nature to him, and he's going to get more carries and got the carries today. 22 for 105. And that really set the tone for this offense at the end of the day. And that's how they have to do it going forward. They do. You have to have balance in this game. If you want to be a team that's going to go further than the first round, you have to play defense, which they did today. You have to run the ball. You can't turn over the ball. They did that a couple of times today. We'll get back to that in a little bit as we get your calls. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Now we can hear you start over. We're not starting over. It is what it is. It's live, baby. This is what we do here on the evolution of sports talk television. You hear me now? I know you can hear me now. I know you can hear this.
Acknowledge me.
And Tim goes, I knew that finish last week would spark this team. LFG.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Let's go out to Bucs Dad 101. That was worth waking up early. I agree. Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's go out to Russ. White needs to be running back number 1 now, not next year. Agree with that.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Let's go out to Tim. 161 yards rushing today. Great job, Bucs. That was the big facet of the game that's been missing. Because this Bucs team comes into it only averaging 61 yards a game. At halftime, they had 76. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go out to Roger Shue. Go Bears. For that, you get this. O-line did a great job. They did a great way to get into our bye week. Absolutely. Hopefully you can get healthy. You saw Antoine Winfield flash today, make some plays. Sean Murphy bunting. All right, let's see here. Bucs Dad 101, give us the Byron sound effect. You shall get it.
Them Bucs, baby?
Although I don't know what that call was. Let's not run Wildcat again. Can we not, Buccaneers? With Leonard Fournette trying to throw to a 45-year-old quarterback and Tom Brady, which, by the way, I get it. I understand it because the first time they showed it on replay, they weren't covering Tom Brady. You're not really going to cover him. By the way, field conditions not the best, as it looked like Brady slipped down. He did slip down and then gives his subtle tripping as he got penalized on that when Fournette throws the interception. Not the greatest call there. Not by any means. The momentum is on the Bucs side. They're at the 22-yard line. No need to get cute. I understand what you're trying to do, but let's not lose our minds here, all right? Byron Leftwich.
How about them Bucs, baby?
All right, so let's go out to Russ here. Keep Julio more involved. He helps the offense click. Roger Shue, Seahawks, a challenge. You beat a garbage-ass team. And no, you're not going to get away with that because they're 6-3 coming into it. So you're not going to troll me like you do every time I get on this show. I'm not having it. You and your little buddy, Troy Polamalu, are not going to say the Bucs beat a garbage-ass team today because they didn't. They beat one of the most improved teams in the National Football League, one of the most improved players in Geno Smith. But we talked about the main key to the game. Shut down Kenneth Walker, which is what this Bucs defense did. So you're not getting away with that today. Not on my watch. Let's go out to Michael here. Rushing. Let's effing go.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Let's go out to Russ. One of the defense woke up on fire. They did. By their captain, who set the tone. With all the adversity this kid has dealt with the last 2 weeks, with getting called out by Warren Sapp, as he should have, because the effort wasn't there. But as I talked about in the monologue, champions rise to the challenge. He did today. He did. So he set the tone. Let's go out to Russ. Defense has been asleep all year, finally woke up. Dave, finally a running game. Absolutely.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Let's go out to Dustin. Back-to-back wins against other NFC foes going into the bye week. Good vibes. Major props to Devin White. Yes. Give that man his flowers. He deserves it. Christopher says, victory afternoon. Yes.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Let's go out to Dave here. Who is that Jones guy? Where did he come from? Was nice to see, right? That 31-yard catch there. Makes something out of it. Gets the shallow cross. Little rub route, if you will. Wide open. Because the other corner's not doing his job. And Jones makes them pay. Turns on the Jets. That was nice to see early. 398 pass attempts. Russ. Brady, not a good receiver. Very true. Fournette sucks. No big loss. Not true. Not going to let you do that again. Because I thought he ran well also when he got the opportunities. He scored a touchdown. But he did get hurt in this game. Let's go out to Dave. Dumbest play call ever. The pass to Brady killed a promising drive. You can't do that. Agree. Where's Troy? No idea. Tim, no sacks against our offense today. Great job. The O-line is finally coming together. Absolutely.
Yeah!
Absolutely.
Give me a hell yeah!
That has to be the onus on this offense going forward. The last 2 years, that's what it's all been about. Keep Brady upright. Give him the time. When you establish the run game, go pass play action on first down. Amazing Byron Leftwich.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Amazing how that happens. And then you're converting third down conversions. Roger, never thought I'd see you happy for the Bucs being 5-5. They get back to 500. That's a big win today, Roger Shue. It is.
Acknowledge me.
Let's go out to Art. Nice to see they discovered a running game. White was very impressive. Absolutely. Hanging with Ed watching the game. If we continue like this, we are unstoppable for the Bucs. Baby, like it.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Let's go out to Ed here. Still having a party with the new good friend Tammy and her family. Having a great time. Go Bucs. Have it. Have a party. Drink up. You guys deserve it. Roger Shue with the $10 super chat.
Acknowledge me.
When does Jensen come back? Who knows? Maybe they get him back after the bye week. Maybe they get Gronk back. But at the end of the day, offensive line deserves their flowers the way they played in this game. Because you didn't see a lot of pressure on Tom Brady. You didn't. And once again, you make that commitment to the running game. It's so important. Let's go out to Javon. Nick Leverett better start the rest of the season. Agree. Renzi says a big upgrade. A Facebook user says go Bucs. I don't know who that
How about
is.
them Bucs, baby?
But thank you very much for tuning in. Nice to see Miller get some touches. And let me go out to Michael. Do you think Brady was calling more of the plays than Byron? Not sure at this point, but once again, they set the tone. Those after the first quarter, missing the field goal. After that, they kind of set the tone with those long drives, being more balanced in their offense. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get out to this guy right here who was watching and telling me we were having this conversation. Did you ever think you would be having a conversation with the Brit, with the Bucs playing in Germany? And I said, you know what? It's a great conversation to have. It's my boss here from buckpower.com as we do a little podcast called the No Quarter Given Podcast. Mr. Paul Stewart, welcome to the episode of Stock Television. After your Tampa Bay Buccaneers come back to 500, they go 5-5 now, beating the Seattle Seahawks 21-16. Your thoughts?
Guten Tag, mein Herr. Jawohl, das war wunderbar.
I don't even know what you said, but God bless you for saying that.
It
And
was wonderful, fantastic. It was magnificent.
it was
No,
absolutely magnificent. Yes.
I think what we've got in this game, and we've got a bit of feedback coming here. I think what we've got, and we talked about this earlier, there are two MVPs on the offense today. And it's not Rashad White, it's not Tom Brady, it is Nick Leverett and it is Robert Hainsey, because they played out of their minds early on, and they are the ones who gave Brady the time to step up in the pocket. It opened up the playbook, and suddenly all the plays that we wanted to see run could be run. So all the people criticising Byron Leftwich have been wrong, and we've been saying this. It's been the problem on the interior offensive line. Those two guys deserve game balls today because they're the reason the Buccaneers won offensively.
And I heard somebody say Nick Leverett needs to start the whole season. Nothing against Luke Gedeke, but he's a rookie. He's not that good at this point. I like Nick Leverett there. You're exactly right. That interior offensive line stepped up. Not a lot of pressure on Tom Brady today. And then on top of it, once you establish that run game, Paul, basically you open up the playbook. You're able to throw the ball down the field. You see Julio Jones getting involved. You see even Scotty Miller getting involved. Please, Scotty, don't jump when you're wide open. Just catch the ball. If he catches the ball instead of jumps, more than likely Brady has a touchdown there, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, when you have all that stuff being established and being done, then the playbook is opened up, and this offense definitely looks totally different from night and day.
Yeah, I mean, just like you've got a man crush on Jalen Darden, I've got the similar man crush on Scotty Miller. I don't want to see him in the play ever. Please don't put him in there anymore. I can't handle it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let me go out to our video line here. Let's go on and get on my co-host right here. Give him his intro. Here we go. There you go. A little Greek music for Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports. And I tell you right now, pat on the back to this man right here, Paul, because this guy, all he has said throughout the season, you've got to win ugly. You've got to establish that run game. You've got to run more than you pass. And Harry, that's exactly what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did today, and tuned to over 150 rushing yards. Rashad White leading the way. Welcome to the Evolution.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much for having me on. And special hello to our special guest there on the other side of the pond.
Yes, absolutely.
And, yeah, I did predict that. I did give everybody, kind of gave everybody a little bit of a scare. I like the win and ugly type of mentality because you know why? It keeps teams in check, especially teams that are winning. Because when you're winning ugly, it don't make a difference if you're winning by 40 or if you're winning by 2. Okay?
Yeah.
Just ask the New York Giants.
Sure.
Okay. But the difference is this is a real football team 2 years removed from a Super Bowl. Have a couple of questions up the middle. White, what did I tell you, Peter?
Well, I tell you right now, and I kind of, address this on the sports web and also no coordinator. At the end of the day, I feel like he gives you more to their offense at the end of the day. He's more explosive. He's still got patience, and you don't have to get you don't have to put him on the bench like a Ronald Jones because he can pass protect. He can stay on the field all 3 downs.
He can flat out stone a linebacker and a defensive end coming in. The guy is the real deal.
Yes.
Tampa Bay, get ready. Please pardon me when I tell you, but Leonard Fournette is bye-bye.
Yeah.
This kid is the real deal. He's not going to come into camp 25 or 30 pounds overweight. He's hungry. Not Ezekiel Elliott hungry, if everybody remembers what I'm talking about, but he's legitimately hungry to go ahead and play football. I'm not trying to be disrespectful of Leonard Fournette. His time has come and gone. The end.
Well, Fournette is now on the bench, Lenny.
Yes, he
on
is.
The bench,
Clearly.
Lenny.
Clearly he's overpaid. Clearly he's overpaid. It doesn't make him a bad running back. He's just not as good and not as hungry as White. Sorry.
Well, and again, he's not as explosive, right? And again, I thought Leonard Fournette played a good game today. I like the game plan coming out, gentlemen. And I know, Harry, you got to go here in just a little bit.
That's okay.
Really quick, we'll get your picks, and then we'll come out to Paul. But give me your picks for the day here. And then, good luck to, of course, the Chicago Bears for you, buddy.
Well, you know what? We got a lot of games you can play today. Houston's at the Giants right now. This game is all the way up to 6 points. Don't be afraid. Hit that hit button. Go ahead and play Houston today on the road. They are the worst team in the National Football League on defense on stopping the run. But New York doesn't really have that much of a passing team. And when Lovie Smith has to only be one-dimensional to guard against, they're still not going to be great, but they're going to be a lot better against the run. So take Houston plus the 5 and 6 points, whichever one you're getting it at. New Orleans are at Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't be afraid to play the over-under. New Orleans should win this game, but it's pretty ugly. They're still pretty banged up, but I do like the over 40 combined points. Miami's at home, minus 3.5 against the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
Miami's only 3.5-point favorites against the Cleveland Browns. By the way, are we on the Deshaun clock yet? Possibly next week against Houston. But take Miami at home, minus the 3.5. The reason why they're only 3.5-point favorites is because they almost lost to the Chicago Bears last week, and people don't know what to make about Miami. Minnesota's at Buffalo, pass. Denver at Tennessee. Tennessee, I don't care who's playing quarterback. Denver can't put up points on the board. Take Tennessee minus the 2.5 because Denver is the worst team against first down rushing yards. And Denver, here comes Derrick Henry. Trust me, it's going to be ugly. Tennessee minus 2.5. Raiders minus 3.5 at home. Peter? Minus 3.5 at home. They've sucked the last 2 weeks. Take the Raiders minus the 3.5. Green Bay, my upset special of the week. We can say last week that
Green Bay sucks.
That's what you're supposed to say. But if you're a betting man, you're going to get 5 points in Green Bay at home. You got to take Green Bay, and don't be afraid to play them on a money line. They probably beat Dallas today. I love home underdogs. And there's only 3 more games I'm going to give you. Actually, 3 more bets, only 1 game. Washington's on the road at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is minus 11. If you wait till tomorrow, you'll get 12 and 13 points, ladies and gentlemen. Take Washington on the road to cover the points. It's a divisional game. Are you kidding me? That's too many points. We all know that Philadelphia is a better team. However, I'm going to give everybody their homework to do. I want everybody to take a look to see exactly who Philadelphia have beaten this year. Might kind of surprise you. This could be a false undefeated team. So here's my 2 hottest picks. You ready? Team totals for the first half. Take Houston over 7 points. That means they just have to score more than a touchdown in the first half. You lay no juice. It's a cinch. And Green Bay over 9.5 in the first half. Peter, that's what you got from the Greek. I didn't give you the Chicago Detroit score. I mean, I didn't give you the pick in that game because, honestly, I don't like the game. If I was leaning, I'd kind of lean towards Chicago because they're playing better football, especially with the emergence of Justin Fields and what they've done in that offense. With that being said, don't be afraid to hit the over button, over 48.5. And to all my gambling fans out there, remember, on 1252 Sports, the over-under with my co-host, Mr. Peter Blake. Keep your bets low and your returns high, and go Bucs.
Go Bucs. There you go. Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire. Thanks a lot for joining me here on the Evolution on Sports Talk Television. All right, my friend?
See you, Mr. Stewart. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Enjoy the game.
I've got a really important tip for you. New Orleans at Pittsburgh. Do not watch a single down of that game.
You know why? Because also the New Orleans Saints suck.
Yeah. Don't go anywhere near that game.
Yes. All right, so let's talk more about this Bucs victory as they go to 5-5, defeating the Seattle Seahawks 21-16. Some other analysis. I mean, the atmosphere in this game is just amazing. I don't think they stopped cheering. I think everybody before decided to drink coffee. I mean, and talk about that German audience, if you were, the German football fans. They're unbelievable.
So, yeah, this is where NFL Europe really works, and the German fans really bought into it. And we talked about this with Jason last night on the sports podcast we do. Now, you know, the games in London are successful, but the crowd are a bit more reserved. Yes, they're cheering big plays. What you heard on that coverage today was the fans really getting into it all the way through. What you didn't hear is when you went to commercials, I was getting the feed of what it was like in the stadium. It was unbelievable. Singing along to songs, you know, and this is what the games in Germany are about. And I've been saying this for years. You don't need to have 3 or 4 games in the UK. You have one in the UK. You have to have one in Germany because this is promoting the game. As I said, I know it's difficult for teams to lose home games. That today was why you go and play international games, because of the atmosphere. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fantastic, and that's what the NFL wants to promote at the end of the day. They're not going to put a team overseas, but what they want to do is they want to have more promotion of the game in general. They want to appeal to more fans, if you will. Let's talk about Rachaad White. Over 100 yards, and most likely he's going to be the lead running back. And I'm not losing sleep over that because I think the kid deserved it. I talked to him when he was drafted. We remember Herm Edwards, basically comparing him to Eric Dickerson, and you saw the stiff arm today. That was an attitude. By the way, what was it? 28, 29 yards, the longest Bucs run this year. And once again, that kind of set the tone for this team too, right?
Yeah, Rachaad White became the 28th Buccaneer to have a 100-yard rushing game today. Now, he's not there. There's 27 running backs, and if anyone can put in the comments who the only Buccaneer quarterback to have a 100-yard game is, we'll call them out on the show. But yeah, Rachaad White was the real deal. What you did notice today was how difficult the field conditions were. Now, we found this in the first couple of games at Wembley. This was a soccer pitch being used for an NFL game. And the base of the field is different. And, they talked about it on the commentary. A lot of the Seattle players, a lot of the Buccaneer players did as well. They went back and changed their studs at halftime. And the first 2 or 3 games at Wembley were the same. And then they realised what the problem was. But today, this was the first time it had been used for an NFL game. And the Bayern Munich will adapt to this in future games. But that's why you saw so many players slipping. And it was defenders, it was offensive players, it was everyone. They will get that fixed. But I did expect it to happen because it happened in 2007 when the Dolphins played the Giants in the first international game.
All right, let me go out to the comments here because we'll get back to the field position or not field position, but the field conditions. We're on with Paul Stewart at buckpower.com. Let's go out to Fred here. Can we shout out the offensive line? They bullied Seattle 90% of the game. Absolutely.
How about them Bucs,
My man
baby?
did that. Otten needs more targets. Agree with that. Christopher Cole. Leonard Fournette shouldn't have thrown that ball. Speaking of, at the 22-yard line in the second half, you have all the momentum going your way. I get it. You tried with the Wildcat. I'll tell you what. We'll get back to that in a moment. Let's go out to the phone lines here. Let's go out to Mr. Curtis, one of my favorite web heads. You're on with yours truly, along with Paul Stewart of buckpower.com. After your Bucs get back to 5-5, defeating the Seattle Seahawks. Go.
I just want to give a shout out to that defense. I know we gave up some points in the second half.
Sure.
Man, that defense in the first half looked great. Now, I'm going to say, a couple of those penalties helped them get down the field.
Sure.
On some of those scoring drives for Seattle. We cleaned up the penalties, though. That was damn near a flawless game by our defense. Defense played great.
Yeah, you saw Joe Tryon Shayenka, as we talked about, Paul, early. You see the difference with that defensive line with Akeem Hicks healthy. Of course, he picked up 2 penalties in this game. Not necessarily the best calls, in my opinion. I don't think that was 15-yard, but they're going to call it because they're going to protect the quarterback any way it goes. But again, for me, the biggest key was shutting down a hot running back coming in and a Kenneth Walker. They absolutely stymied that running game back to basics, if you will, for this Buccaneer defense.
I'm calling for Rachaad White to start over Leonard Fournette.
Well, I think he's going to because
let's just go on and put it out there.
Well,
I'm calling for that kid to start because listen, all that stutter stepping. I know Leonard Fournette is patient and he wants to set up his block in and stuff. Man, forget all that. Hit the damn hole.
That's it.
Hit the hole hard and keep moving. That's all there's nothing else.
Yeah, 22 for 105 and Tune also, and again, Lenny was good today also.
Lenny was good. He was good today. He was good today,
but he got hurt later on in the game. But I just think, that dynamic is added to that offense with the White because he definitely does have that speed and he has a little power and he does have patience and he does have vision and he can catch the ball. And I'm not saying Leonard Fournette can't do those things, but White does it better and did it better during this game. 161 yards total rushing for this Bucs offense.
I have a question for Paul.
Go for it. Paul's on here for your questions. Yes. Human encyclopedia, by the way. And if you guys don't know, you better put some respect on this man's name because he has he is a plethora, Leo word, of Bucs knowledge. Go ahead, Paul.
So before I ask this question, I do want to say there was a good shout out to that offensive line. They did hold up today. They played their hearts out. But Paul, I want to ask you this question. How dangerous could this team really look if Evans and Godwin and Jones really stay healthy on the field together?
I think it comes down to the offensive line again, because you've got to have the time to run these 15, 20, 25-yard routes to open up the holes. And today they had the holes to do it. That we know these receivers, and you can throw Kate Naughton in there as a good deep threat as well, because he's got the ability to go down the middle. It's only going to work if the offensive line gives Tom the chance. But yeah, all the pieces are there. You're absolutely right. The pieces are there for the Buccaneers to succeed. I don't know if they're as good as the Philadelphia and the Dallas when they really get going, but this is certainly a team that could do some damage, and no one would want to play them in the playoffs.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, when Julio scored that touchdown, I was like,
whoa, right?
If they could do that consistently, that offense might be a little dangerous.
I mean, I think that's what the Bucs organization and Tom Brady, expected. And it was nice to see him, catch, I guess it was a rub route, intermediate route there, wide open. And then he turns on the jets. That's all yak yards on Julio Jones there for 31 yards. And again, that was great for this offense to see, because that's what they've been expecting all year long from a Jones, from an Evans. And look at Godwin today, led them in receiving, and he talked about it.
He finally looked healthy today.
Yes.
He finally looked healthy today.
Yes.
And I think these next 13 days off for this whole team is going to be great for everybody.
Huge. Absolutely huge. It's good to see Godwin 6 for 71. And of course, the touchdown there where Brady looks off, looks over, has enough time to do that, steps up, makes the play. Godwin with the touchdown. Welcome back, Chris Godwin. By the way, can you believe this, Curtis and Paul? His first touchdown catch of the year for Chris Godwin. Amazing.
I know.
Amazing.
Well, here's
my big analysis, Curtis. You're absolutely spot on with what you said there, my friend.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul. Talk to Curtis a little bit.
I was going to say, you're absolutely spot on with the analysis. When you go back and watch that Julio Jones touchdown, again, watch the interior offensive line. Look how that play develops, and look how clean the pocket is for Tom to throw to. Because Julio is not Tom's first option on that play. He's looking down the left sideline and comes back for Julio coming across.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. What else, Curtis?
Well, the first thing I want to say is big shout out to Keyshawn Vaughn coming in the game cold and picking up a key third down. Oh, my God.
Yep.
Listen, if I could, I'd give that kid a game ball, because it's hard for people to come off the bench and to make a big play like that.
Big time key third down conversions today. Scotty Miller had one there where Brady, throws it to the outside, and even Michael Irvin on the broadcast said, 45-year-old quarterback, he ain't supposed to make that throw. Guy is timeless making that type of throw. The only player that could catch it at the time was Scotty Miller. So that was a big time third down conversion. Bucs as an offense all day long, Paul, had those big time third down conversions. And once again, that's what this offense has been missing, right?
Yeah, well, did you notice there weren't many third and longs? They were third and short, third and twos, third and threes. Suddenly, the whole playbook is there. Because you've got no threat for Brady to run.
Hold on, Curtis. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, you've got no threat for Brady to run, and if you're not going to really run a draw play in that situation out of a shotgun formation, because there's no blocking up front. But when you get down to 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3, the whole playbook is there. And there were a couple of times they hit Mike Evans or Chris Godwin on 4 or 5 yard routes. They even went to Scotty Miller on a 4-yard route on a busted play, because it was that short yardage. You've got all those options. You don't have to have long developing routes. So as I said, I know I've been saying this for a long time. It comes back to that interior offensive line. As I say, Curtis, keep giving them credit, because you're absolutely right. They're the ones who deserve the credit for the offensive performance today.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what else, Curtis?
Nothing, man. It was just, it was
nothing, man. You better come strong to the mic here. You better get excited.
Well, listen, I've been battling my 4-year-old watching the game the whole time. So,
well, look, these are the teaching moments, my friend. And I don't have any kids, but I have, 4 sisters. And when they were younger, when they actually used to acknowledge that I was their brother and I was somewhat important in their life, I would sit them down in that television set and make sure they watched every Bucs game, every sporting event. You got to corrupt them while they're young, my friend. That's what you got to do.
I'm trying to, but this is to me. This was a big game because this game right here
huge
put us at 500. We got 7 games left in this season, and the offense didn't stutter as much as they did in the other games.
Sure,
and it looked more smooth and more fluid than it has in the past. And I just, you kind of felt good about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing about it was the offense. Give that in a second, baby. The offense didn't beat. The offense didn't beat themselves up with some of those penalties today. They didn't get themselves in those 3rd and longs and 2nd and 25s and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and they kept the Seattle defense on their heels by running the ball.
Yep, and we talked about Devin White and his importance to this defense, and experiencing the loss of losing a loved one, especially his father at only 45 years old. It puts it in perspective for me because I'm 44 years old, so I can't imagine what the young man is going through. But to play at the level he played today, 9 tackles, 2 sacks. And to me, Paul, he really made the play of the game there because it looks like Seattle's about to go down and score as it's close at the time. I believe it's like 14-3. And looks like Seattle's going to score. And it looks like a designed quarterback run there, if you will. Geno has nowhere to go, tries to get out of the pocket. Here comes Devin White swiping the ball. Nelson with the recovery. Talk about Mr. White's play today.
Yeah, I mean, quite a lot of the time he was being used as a spy on the running back. And you could see situations where if the back stayed into block, he would come on the red dog blitz. If he did, if he came out of the backfield, he was going out to cover him. So there was a lot of defensive scheming. So again, we've got to give Todd Bowles the credit for the scheme they ran. And they really held the Seahawks at a touchdown until until you got to the late prevent defense situation. That turnover, our first turnover in 5 games, it changed momentum. Because the momentum had been going the Bucs' way. The call to the Brady interception was, turned it around, and suddenly White changes it again. Very big play. He made the splash play on the defense. I'd still give the credit to the people up front for the way they played. There were a lot of coverage sacks behind, but as I said, White made the big play when he needed to, and you were spot on with your call there, my friend.
Absolutely.
Well, I got one more question for you, Paul.
Sure.
How underrated is this Bucs secondary, though?
They're very good. Now, again, I've always said, and I've done this for all the years I commentated on British TV, a secondary is only as good as the defensive line up front with the pressure you're putting on. And if you're getting pass rush with 4 guys only, like the Tampa 2, you could have 4 corner, defensive backs playing all over the place. They would look really good. If you've got, no pressure up front, you can have the greatest cornerbacks in the world and they'll get beaten eventually. Carlton Davis is the real deal. Jamel Dean is the real deal. Winfield is the glue that holds it together. Now we noticed we had no Keanu Neal on the field today because he didn't need to be there. Mike Edwards was out there. I know Murphy Bunting got beaten on the touchdown play, and I don't know if that was a scheme difference that caused that. They are a very good secondary, but it's complementary with what you're getting up front. And all I want to see with the guys up front, please stop lining Tryon Shoyinka half a mile off to the left of the formation. Get him tighter in play. But they got the pressure on Smith. They forced the turnover, and the secondary made the play. So again, Curtis, you're spot on with your analysis. You've got a job on radio here if you want one.
Well, I'm telling you, he does. That's always why he's one of the number one web heads here. Go ahead, Kurt.
Antonio Winfield Jr., that kid is such a key piece to that defense. This kid, he always makes the play.
Yep.
He always makes the right play. And I know his dad was a great DB for a lot of years. But you can just tell this kid doesn't just go out there to play the game. He wants it. He wants it every play, every Sunday.
Absolutely. Good stuff, Curtis. Let me go ahead and give you the Ric Flair. Woo! Let me give you the Byron Leftwich.
How about them Bucs, baby?
And you better party it up, my friend. Your Bucs are 5-5.
All
All right, appreciate it. Use that second call if you want to. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391 as your Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to 5-5 as they defeat the Seattle Seahawks 21-16 in Germany. I'm on with my friend here, Mr. Paul Stewart of buckpower.com. Let's go back out to these comments as they are fast and furious. Get on there, click on the link if you want to get on the video, or definitely call the phone line. So let's go out to Ed here. Fournette, the lowest passer rating in NFL history. I mean, what sense do you make of it? Because I understand, again, what you're trying to do, but you had the momentum at that point. You run it. They're not covering Brady the first time. But as we know, if we can see it, defensive coordinators can see it. Fournette, I guess, spots Brady. They're thinking he's wide open. And, of course, you know, Brady slips down. It gets picked off. I mean, makes some sense of that call. I think you're getting too cute at that point. Terrible play call by Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, just want to say, actually, the lowest quarterback rating in Buccaneer history is a quarterback called Randy Hedberg in 1977. His quarterback rating is 8.0. It's not just the lowest in sport history. It's the lowest in Faber history, for those who know your pop culture. He threw 90 passes, 10 of them were intercepted.
He said, well, wow, that's terrible. Yeah, and again, it's just amazing to me. They call that Leonard Fournette. I never knew he was a quarterback, and then again, it just does not help with the field conditions with Brady slipping down and then subtly and still picking up the flag there. A nefarious action by Tom Brady there with the little trip, gets the penalty. All right, let's go out to Patrick White. Came up big today. Glad he's getting more touches. It's a Bucs life. Absolutely.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Renzi says use White more as a pass rusher. That would be Devin White. And again, his game for the day, 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and a key fumble. First turnover by this Bucs defense in 5 games. So it was good to see. And once again, it snuffed out that Seattle Seahawks offense, which looked like they were getting some momentum in the game. Of course, once again, snuffed out. Steve Young says Ray Kennedy. Steve Young with 100 yards rushing? No,
the only Buccaneer quarterback to have a 100-yard rushing game was Vinny Testaverde against Minnesota in 1990. And it was the first game Richard Williamson coached after Perkins had been fired. And Vinny described it as being, it was great. He could come back to the sideline and not get shouted at. And just to point out about Fournette, he is not the only Buccaneer to have thrown one pass and had it intercepted. Steve Bartolo did it in 87. And another one was the Super Bowl year. Tom Tupou in the season opening game went to throw that fumbled punt out of the end zone. It was picked off. So yes. Fournette is the third Buccaneer to have thrown one pass and had it intercepted.
And Bucs fans, I still remember to this day, Bucs fans just up in arms. You get John Gruden, but you lose to the Saints. Of course, you know, nobody ever wants to lose to the Saints. But that game in itself, and I think it's in overtime, right? He tries to throw the ball. Yes, it's in overtime. They go on to lose, and everybody's like, oh, they're 0-1. You know, panic. Let's jump off the Skyway Bridge. And it's okay, Bucs fans. It turned out to be okay that year.
Both times the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, they lost their opening game to the Saints.
There you go. Tom Brady's first game. I never forget it. Never forget it. Let's see here. Let's go out to Roger. Troy won't acknowledge me. I'm his tribal troll. Troy Polamalu. Bucs suck. Vegas decides who wins all the games. And for that, this is what you get. And this is what you get. And this is what you get.
How about new?
And this is what you get.
Oh, my God. Who the hell cares?
All right, let's go out to Ray here. White started today, didn't he? He did for the first part of the game. There was actually a story there where Leonard Fournette had trouble possibly getting a passport and got that situation worked out. Trade Fat Fournette and start the young stud Rashard White. I don't think they're going to trade anybody because first and foremost, the trading deadline is over. Once again, you're wrong. You're so wrong. I mean,
oh my God, who the hell cares?
Again, if you troll me on this broadcast, that's what I'm going to do here. Troy acknowledged me. Jim says, yes, White did start today. Troy Polamalu. Roger Ball said no work on Thanksgiving. You don't work with us. So once again. Tim says Jacksonville just did an onside kick on their kickoff and recovered it. So good for the Jacksonville Jaguars as they have nothing to lose at the end of the day. The Julio Jones touchdown looked like the same play when Perryman scored in overtime against Buffalo. That's what it looked like to me. You remember that last year in overtime versus the Buffalo Bills. Is that the play you saw?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the two receivers on the outside both run 9 routes, or one runs a 9 route and one runs the post on the right-hand side, which creates the space underneath for the underneath route. So I'll have a look at it on the All-22. But yeah, you're spot on. It was definitely a similar concept.
All right, got some smart fans here on the Sports Web. Good stuff. Michael Hulk says, Paul, the buckpower.com website is cool. Love the tabs with info and stats. And, of course, check out the podcast, No Quarter Given, with yours truly, along with Jason Powers, Powers on Sports Podcast. This man right here does a summary of the history of that opponent. So if you're a big-time Bucs fan, what are you not tuning into? You should be tuning into that. Let's go out to Renzi here. 23 had a bad game. I thought that too. Sean Murphy bunting, and I think this team has been hurt by Logan Ryan. Because, Paul, I think they envision not playing necessarily Sean Murphy bunting in the slot or in that nickel situation, if you will, but playing Logan Ryan. Who knows when they get him back, but hopefully they do get him back because I think this defense is a lot better with him than an SMB. What do you say?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, I want to see that play again. Something that surprised me about Antoine Winfield is I was in the locker room after the Falcons game, just doing a couple of interviews with TJ, and Winfield walked past me. Now, I'm not exactly the biggest guy in the world. Winfield's the same size as me.
Yeah.
He looks, I mean, you go in there and there are some big human beings. I mean,
Yes.
Joe Tryon-Shiinka, you go, okay, wow, you're a big man. Winfield walks past you think he's one of the equipment guys, but he hits like a truck.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're right. He's got the smarts that his father brought to him. What a fantastic second-round pick he was. Like, he made the Pro Bowl, and we all know about the message he gave the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That's 2, baby.
That's 2, baby, and that's 2 in a row for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they get back to 5-5. Such an important victory. And we talked about Tom Brady. You look at his statistics, 22 for 29, 258, 2 touchdowns, the 1 interception there, which, you know, at the end of the day, there's a couple times here where Brady's trying to thread the needle over the middle. Linebacker jumps it. Linebacker made a great play. But hats off on Brady, not only playing well today, being accurate when he needed to be on third down conversions, but also I believe he's calling this team out. And once again, as I talked about in my monologue, champions rise to the challenge, and that's exactly what they did today. Right, Paul?
Yeah, I think so. And I'd like to point out that Tom Brady's streak of 398 passes, now interception, just narrowly beat Jameis Winston's best for the Buccaneers, which was probably about 10. So, yeah, I mean, Brady got away. Brady got away with a very close one earlier in the game. Yeah, I sat through 5. He's a Jameis Winston. I'm allowed to have a go at him. And anyone who can't beat out Andy Dalton for a job deserves it. Brady did thread the needle. I think when you watch the coverage, though, of any pass looks tight because he's throwing the ball when they're open, and by the time the defense is closing, it looks closer than it is. And I've often seen that. But, yeah, they had a play earlier in the game where the linebacker nearly got a hand on it. So I think, yes, it happens. Look, you're allowed to make mistakes. He's the greatest of all time. He made enough big plays. You're allowed the one that didn't work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely at the end of the day. And again, it got a little bit too close for comfort. But once again, the Bucs were able to kill the clock there. And I think they did it. It looked like White was going to go on for the touchdown, but intelligent on his part to go down. And of course, he went over for 100 yards there. So, and that's how you want to finish a game at the end of the day. I get it. It's a little bit closer than you want. This offense still has things to work on. This defense still has things to work on. But now you're 5-5 in that NFC South. You feel good about it. And hopefully this team can get healthy for the bye week. Final thoughts, because I know you want to go watch some more football here, but your final thoughts on this big-time Bucs victory over the Seahawks in Germany.
Yeah, as I say, it's only 6:20 here. It's like, you know, the time I normally start watching the early games. I quite like these early coverage things. Now, as I said, it was nice to see Rashad White get the 100-yard game. It's fantastic. So I just think there's one way to sum up the end of this show, my segment here, and that is bringen Sie die Leidenschaft, bringen Sie die Spannung, bringen Sie keinen Unsit mit, which is bring the passion, bring the excitement, just don't bring any nonsense in German. How about that for you, my friend?
Love it! All right, really quick, You got a fan here. Joe says, hey, Paul, it's Animal. How are things?
Yeah.
He says, remember that game very well. Joe, again,
Yeah.
Paul knows his Buck stuff he does. Joe says, tell Paul. Animal says hello. He is saying hello. Talk to Joe a little bit here because Joe wants to talk to you. I want to make sure.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I've known the Animal for over 30 years, so Joe's a big Uptime Bucks fan. I first met him at a Clearwater Bucks Bunch meeting probably about 34 years ago, 88 on my first trip to Tampa. So, yeah, great to hear from you, Animal. Hope you're doing well. But as I said, it's been a great, we've got a great Buccaneer victory. You've got the whole rest of the day to celebrate. So it's something special. So all I can say is, Auf Wiedersehen, go Bucks, and das ist wunderbar.
Love it. There you go. Paul Stewart of buckpower.com. Thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution. All right, my friend? There you go. Good stuff there. Yes, you will absolutely be back. Definitely don't be a stranger on the post-game editions. And once again, go to buckpower.com for all your Bucks needs when it comes to the history of this great team that we always talk about here on the Sports Web Live on I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and Amped Up Sports. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Joe here. I have to get on my show sometime. Definitely will get on your show sometime. Again, Leonard Fournette goes out in this game. Lenny was having a pretty good game. I'm not going to say, but I like the mix of both of those players. I like mixing the run game around. I like the game plan overall. Because you look at it, they run 38 times. You run more than you pass. You take the pressure off of Tom Brady. You become more balanced. And then it makes your offense that much more dangerous. And you look at Lenny's numbers, who went out with a hip injury, 14 for 57, 1 touchdown. Once again, Rashard White, the star of the game, 22 for 105, including a nasty, nasty stiff arm. And by the way, just saying, stars are out there. I don't know who this is, but thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate it. Send those stars. Let's see if this is a telemarketer or this is somebody calling the Evolution. Welcome to the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, hello. Welcome to the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, my name is Jim. I'm calling from Apollo Group TV. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm on a sports talk show, so that's not good. It's always out there, personal number. You never know who's going to call you. So, yeah, that was a telemarketer on a Sunday. Don't interrupt me on a victory Sunday for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Don't do that. All right, let's go out to Paul here. Michael, thank you for the compliment across the Atlantic. There you go. And Michael, thank you very much for sending stars. Appreciate it.
How about them Bucks, baby?
We're going back to Leonard Fournette, 14 for 57 in this game with an early touchdown, and the Bucs go up 14-0, and you feel good about it. In fact, this was probably the best offense and defensive effort in that first half. And we know that Seattle's going to make those adjustments because Pete Carroll's one of the best coaches in the National Football League. He is. What he's done for the Seahawks team this year has been tremendous. All the talk was, without Russell Wilson, could they get it done? They were getting it done with Geno Smith. So we knew that they were going to make some adjustments in that second half. We knew they were going to do that. And they came out with urgency. They didn't run the ball as much. Going from the shotgun with Geno Smith, trying to throw the ball, give himself some time, wear that Bucs defense out just a little bit. Some tremendous throws by Smith today, especially on that 4th down one to Lockett. Can't believe that throw. But again, Bucs defense came up big today. Look at the numbers here. Geno Smith, 23 for 33, 275, 2 touchdowns. Although the fumble there is huge, especially in the red zone. DK Metcalf, 6 for 71. Again, we talked about Tyler Lockett with the amazing catch there on 4th down, 3 for 42. Walker in the pass game, 6 for 55. But the key for me, 10 for 17 in the rushing game. When that Bucs team can make an offense one-dimensional, I like the chances of this Bucs defense overall. This is a good team, a very good team. This is a huge victory for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team at the end of the day. Defensively, we talked about it, the one interception by Cody Barton late, which gives the Seahawks new life. And then Tyreek Wooten there with also an interception. So not necessarily the prettiest when it comes to turnovers. Of course, you talk about the play there, which I don't know still why that's called. I don't know why you're at the 22-yard line and you're trying that type of play with Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette is not a quarterback. He is not. He's not. So that to me was baffling. Although it's kind of exciting at the same time, right? Because you got Tom Brady, who's 45 years old, trying to run a wide receiving route, trying to run the Philly special, I guess. Not so much. Not good at all. So your thoughts on this Tampa Bay Buccaneer win over the Seattle Seahawks? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The offense was better today on third down conversions, 10 for 16. Defensively, you look on the other side of the ball here as we pop up the statistics. 1 for 9. 1 for 9 for that Seattle offense. That's what that Buccaneer defense did today. That's the key. Defense gets pressure. You make Seattle's offense one-dimensional. You put the onus on Geno Smith, who didn't play bad, but in my opinion, is not going to win you games. He's not going to win you games. Credit to him, though, once again, not turning over the ball, although the fumble was huge. So good for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, once again, defensively, and we talked about it at the beginning of the show here. You know, Devin White, 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and that major fumble recovery. Huge. Absolutely huge for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, and we'll see what happens when they're going into the bye week. At halftime, the Bucs were winning 14-0. Brady at the time, 11 for 16, 132, 1 touchdown. And again, the Bucs set the tone from the very get-go with the 76 yards of rushing when they're averaging 61. And we'll see what happens with Leonard Fournette. I think he could be hurt for a little bit. And I think they're going to go more with Rachaad White, whether he's hurt or not, because they see what he can do and what he can give them. That's the reason why you draft a kid in the 3rd round in the first place. We heard it. He thinks of himself as being a Le'Veon Bell because he's got patience and he's got deceptive speed, but he hits the hole strong. He goes, he hits. And once again, credit to that offensive line of opening up those holes. And we saw when you need a 3rd down and 1, you run outside, there's Donovan Smith. Good technique, Smith. Good job not holding. So, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Seattle gets on the board in that second half there. DK Metcalf picks up a unsportsmanlike penalty, pushes it back for Myers there, and he kicks a 55-yard booming field goal at that point. So very fortunate for DK Metcalf. I'm not necessarily sure what he said to the ref, but the ref threw the flag. We talked about Akeem Hicks and his stupid penalty there. Overall, the Seattle Seahawks at halftime had a total of 57 yards, complete domination by this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team overall. I mean, really did. They need this win. They needed this win. You can't afford to lose this game versus the Seahawks after you come back and beat the Rams. After you exercise the demons, right? This year, you look at it, the Bucs beat the Saints, they beat the Rams. But if you lose to the Seahawks, you go into that bye week 4-6, you have a bad taste in your mouth. So an important victory for this Bucs team. It was. And they've been facing lots of adversity. They have. Now, don't be surprised if this team starts to make a run. And that's exactly what Brady was talking about on his podcast. Calling this team out, calling their effort out, saying it's embarrassing. They came out today and responded. That's the way you respond. That's the way you run the ball and you make your team balanced. Especially when you have the attitude that that's what we're going to do. Play calling was a lot better today, I thought, besides some of the plays that we talked about, the, Wildcat with Leonard Fournette. Not good. I don't like that. Wildcat, he wants to run the ball, fine, but try to throw the ball, nah, not to Tom Brady. I'm not buying that. I don't like that. I don't like that call at all. Early on, JTS, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka with the sack. We've seen him a couple times there. We saw Nelson. We saw, Akeem Hicks once again make an impact. Nothing much from Vita Vea today, but the defensive line's job, the main job, was to shut down the running game, and that's exactly what they did to make Seattle one-dimensional. So it was nice. It was nice to see that. Absolutely nice. What else? And again, 57 total yards for the Seahawks. And again, they made their adjustments in that second half. They came out. They gave the best Bucs a body blow to the Bucs. And the Bucs punched back with that major play by Devin White there. Great play. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. To go through the numbers once again, 419 total yards by this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, 258 passing, 161. And again, I think it came down to, with the third down conversions, 10 for 15. And those were manageable third downs. That's the key. If you're going to run the ball, at least get 3 to 4 yards on that first down. Productive. We talked about it with J.C. Allen of Pewter Report during the show, during the week. White gives you more on first down than Leonard Fournette was giving you. And what that basically leads to is then it's 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 3. And then you get down to the third down, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7. Much more manageable situations on third down, which is the reason why the Bucs were able to convert some of those third downs today. That's important. That's important for any offense. I don't care how high-powered you think you are, more manageable situations, and then that playbook can be opened up. And we saw that today. You didn't know what the Bucs were going to do. They go past play action. We saw Brady thread the needle to Cade Otton. We saw him throw a screen pass to Cameron Brate, which was nice to see after Brate hasn't played in so many games with the neck and concussion syndrome. We know that Brady likes to throw to his tight ends. That's important. If the man feels comfortable, he's able to thrive in this offense. Period. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So getting into those manageable situations on third down was important today. That offense was able to do it. Once again, they set the tone by going up 14-0. Those long drives. First quarter didn't look the best. If you're a Bucs fan, maybe just eat something real quick. Maybe miss the game, because that first quarter has always been, or has been, the bugaboo of this Bucs offense this year. But the second quarter, those 2 long drives, and that kind of settled things down, if you will. We talked about the Julio Jones, and we also talked about Leonard Fournette going in from about 3 yards out. So that was important. Lots of conversions today. We talked about it. Brady spreading the ball around, which was good to see. The return of Chris Godwin, 6 catches for 71 yards with the touchdown there to get your 21 points. Mike Evans, 5 for 54. Julio Jones, 3 for 53. Cade Otton, 3 for 35. Scotty Miller, 2 for 25. Keyshawn Vaughn, 1 for 11. As Curtis talked about, and Cameron Brate, 1 for 8. Great keys today for that offense. Spread the ball around. You're not just depending on 2 wide receivers. Now you're depending on 3 or 4. Julio Jones came up big today. Hopefully he can continue and get healthy on this bye week. It would be nice to see. So, again, Bucs win 21-16 as they go to 5-5. Other things that I saw in this game, besides the Leonard Fournette play there, which everybody was hitting me up and asking me, first time you caused that turnover in 5 games. That's huge for this defense. Now, can you start to get those turnovers? Do they come in bunches? I'd like to see Devin White being more used as a pass rushing threat because he has the knack for sacking a quarterback, does he not? 2 sacks today. The guy has the speed. And again, he stepped up. And in a adverse situation, with losing his father, with getting called out by Warren Sapp, he stepped up big today. Captain status. Big time. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So, impressive victory today by your Tampa Bay Buccaneers here on the post-game edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Who else do we got here? Let's go out to our video hotline here, as nobody seems like they're taking advantage of it. But this guy right here, I know he's going to take advantage of it. Let's go out to Mr. Best of the Bay himself, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Welcome to the Evolution after your Tampa Bay Buccaneers get back to 500, defeating the Seattle Seahawks in Germany. Your thoughts? Welcome.
Yeah, man, what a game today, Pete. First of all, great post-game show. Love seeing Paul Stewart in here, and, of course, Harry the Greek, Curtis with the call-in. But, man, I'll tell you what, I just love the fact that just like we knew, that team showed up today, and they looked rededicated, and we saw it at the end of that Rams game last week. It carried over to the international game. They were all business, and I just love the fact that we saw today that the defense never forgot how to play. There was a little bit of separation, it seemed, I don't say between church and state, but between offense and defense so far in 2022. But today we saw that Buccaneers defense getting locked back down as we saw that offense, and just love the output today. I just love the fact we said passion, because a lot of people said execution, and it was passion. And today, man, they had that Peter Blake sports web passion, and it was fantastic seeing that in the game today versus those Seattle Seahawks.
It really was complimentary football here, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, as your complimentary co-host here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. And for me, the biggest key was that Buccaneer defense and the stopping of that running game, with Kenneth Walker, who's been a rookie and has definitely been on fire. That defense stuffed him and held him under 50 yards. I mean, that's old-style Buccaneer defense, which they got away with this year. And we talked about it, the effort with Devin White. Just talk about that Buccaneer defense versus the run, and then we'll get out to and talk about Mr. White.
Love the speed they played. Man, it's so important having Antoine Winfield back in there. Joe Tryon was just causing disruptions. Everybody putting the pressure on Devin, playing at home. A quiet game for Levante, but that's because he was locking it down, his positions. I'd love to stopping the run. That was the big thing going into today. You had a feeling that if that rookie Walker was able to even have moderate success, then that was going to keep the Bucs defense a little on their heels. Even when they went into a prevent, it wasn't so much a prevent. It was just like a bend but don't break defense, which going back to Monty Kiffin, going back to John McKay, we've seen here with this Buccaneers team the years we didn't have an offense. I will say, though, and I know you guys already talked about it, I'm sure that had to have been Tom in the huddle probably turned to Leonard and said, you know what? Throw it to me. But the reason why I didn't like that play from the get is because I think we all saw the same pregame show. We saw the warm-ups. Tom Brady did not have his footing in warm-ups. He didn't have his footing. For the life of me, I'm sorry. I'm all about letting players be empowered and, of course, letting Tom call plays or whoever did make the final play or call on that play. But when you've got a quarterback who's just finding that rhythm, and that would have been the turning point of the game, because we're on the, like you already said, we're on the 22-yard line. You lock in another field goal. You just traded field goal for field goal, and you kept momentum going. Even at that point, it would have been down the middle. But, man, they turn over the ball in an interception, and any NFL fan of any NFL team is going, oh, here we go. Mm-hmm. But they were able to bring it back. And, man, that running today, Rashard White, just hats off to that guy. I love Leonard Fournette. It's just, I turned to my son, Tristan, about third quarter, second quarter. And I said, I just love the White and Fournette. And then, of course, Keyshawn later in the game. I love that mix because that's one thing the Buccaneers offense had going today. They've been so predictable in 2022. And today, nobody knew what the next play was going to be. And Tom, basically, due to that success and that offensive line playing the way they played, the Buccaneers had, and of course, Paul Stewart, pointed out very astutely, of course, that everything was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and short, and the entire playbook was available, and they made that playbook, and they called that playbook perfectly today. It's just a great get-right game. Got a bye week now. Hopefully you get Jensen back, and, we talked about it, you and I did just this last week. Now we kick it in the afterburners for the rest of the season, sitting at 5-5 and atop the NFC South all by our lonesome. It just feels like it's supposed to feel, and boy, does it feel good.
Yeah, it definitely feels good. We're on with Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy here on the Sports Web Live on I Love St. Pete, the hub and Amped Up Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about as the Bucs get back to 500, going 5-5 now, beating the Seattle Seahawks 21-16. I want to talk about that defense because that defense really did stand up today, especially in the face of adversity, as we talked about White and what he's gone through personally. But for him to be the man on the spot here, it seems ironic. And it looks like Geno Smith on that play is getting ready to come out. He's scrambling. It seems like it's just a quarterback run at that point, a quarterback option. Sure enough, there's White with the big-time fumble cause, and then Nelson recovers it, and that basically slows down the momentum because, like you said, it looked like Seattle was getting ready to score because of the adjustments that Pete Carroll made in that second half.
Yeah, and then right off the top of the game, the Bucs win the opening. The Bucs get the opening kickoff. They're 3 and out. Didn't lose hope at that point, but we're looking around, we're searching, we're trying to figure out, okay, is this the same thing we've been seeing so far this year? Are we going to be trading field goals for touchdowns and keep it close? But they were able to lock it in. That defense, Pete, we've said this all, going into this game, the entire NFL world, every talking pundit, every national media outlet was saying this Buccaneers defense is all of a sudden susceptible to the run. And they have been so far in 2022, up until maybe the Ravens game and then carrying it through to the Rams game. They were a lot more susceptible to that run game. But we always knew, Buccaneer fans, we always knew that it was just a matter of getting a complementary offense to offset it. And not only do you give the guys a little more chutzpah, if you will, to play that run solidly and stop. Is that a Leo word? I think it's Leo. Chutzpah.
Yeah, chutzpah. Yeah.
That's a word Leo would use. But,
yes.
Give this defense, they didn't forget how to stop the run. They didn't forget how to play lockdown defense. They just needed a dancing partner. And today you had it. You even had Jake Camarda nails step in there when we had to punt from deep in our territory. Still punt. Basically, think about that, guys and girls. How many times have we seen the Buccaneers just in 2022? They're punting the ball from deep in their own end zone, and basically the Seattle Seahawks get the ball on their own 24-yard line. Of course, there was a good bounce and played that way, but that's the way it's been. We said this team still has very great pieces in every component or every area of this team. All we needed to see them do was play together, and we saw it coming out of the Rams game, and then we saw it for 60 minutes today. The time of possession, you and I talked about that just this week on the Sports Web this week. It was going to be a time of possession. Make their defense tired. You go back to that Green Bay game, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but if we'd have owned time of possession in that game, this entire season may have been different. We may be sitting on 1 or 2 losses at this point. That's okay. We're 5-5 now. We got right. Now we have a bye week. We got 13 days to get better and continue to work on it, and we have that momentum, and man, does that feel good.
Yeah, and it seems like, it goes back to the Super Bowl year, right? I mean, you go into the bye week, you're 7-5, you get a disappointing loss to Kansas City, but you feel good about it because at the end of the day, you can maybe get some things worked out and cleaned up. And then on top of it, you can also get healthy. And you talk about time of possession, you look at the numbers at the end of the day, 36-23, and you establish that running game. And we talked about it with our good buddy Harry the Greek when this team wants to run the ball, and that's exactly what they did today, 38 times compared to Brady throwing the ball 29 times. That makes this team that much more dangerous. It does, and I get it. There's teams out there like Philadelphia and the Vikings and Dallas, but do you really want to face this team when they're able to be balanced? And that is the key to their Super Bowl year. That, to me, is the key to this offense going forward, and that they can be that balanced. They are a dangerous team that nobody wants to play in the National Football League. I don't care what anybody says.
No, and you see, of course, Byron Leftwich walks out near midfield, walks out to meet Tom Brady because he's locking down the offense. Of course, head coach Todd Bowles still calling the defensive plays. What may have been a hindrance, if you will, in 2022 is this team when Tom was going through some stuff and where the team was trying to find an identity. Fortunately, now, at last 3 weeks, we now see going into the bye week, we realize what the identity of this Buccaneers team is. And I'll tell you what it is. What seemed like punch drunk going into this season, I talked about this a few weeks back with you, that the Bucs win 55, the Rams win 56. Both teams going into that game against the Rams last week, it seemed like both teams were suffering from a Super Bowl hangover. But now, really, when you look at it, of course, winning cures all. But when you look at it, we've got a veteran-led team. We got quite a few guys that are still in the room that they got a ring. They got a ring in 55 in 2020, and they got a taste of it. And they've got some young guys in a Rashard White and a Jake Camarda and a Cade Otton and even a Akeem Hicks and Julio Jones. We've got the other guys that don't yet have that ring or haven't had a chance to get that ring. And so now you can rely on, as this team finds their momentum and gets healthy and has the bye week, what may have seemed like a hindrance before actually becomes a strength. And that is that you've got a team of veterans that are leading this team. Just don't let them players call those offensive plays, because there was just no reason, guys. I mean, looking back, you'd say, oh well, if Tom would have caught that ball or would have scored a touchdown, it would have been insult to injury. No, he had trouble with footing. He had trouble going out. He's also still Tom Brady. Things are just getting right. They're gonna.
And you could possibly get hurt on that play. Because the footing is not so good, and you risk all that for you trying to be cute at the. I don't understand. I tell you what, let's go out to these comments here. Tim says the O-line should get the player of the game. I mean, that really has improved, and that's what Paul was talking about. That's what we have been talking about. And you go back to the film here and see what's really plagued this offense. It is definitely in that interior offensive line, but that offensive line definitely played well today. And they definitely deserve some definitely kudos.
Yes, 100% love. I tell you what, let's talk game balls. Offensive line, 100%. Tom getting back on, just calling a great game. I mean, because if it wasn't for that one play, that's a silly play, I think Tom pretty much had a perfect day. I mean, it wasn't literally perfect. The yards were, it wasn't over 400 yards as I kind of hoped. I was thinking it would be Tom Brady over 400 yards and the Bucs would win 35-17. I'll take the Buccaneer win with Tom throwing under. Did not see the rushing that we got today. Knew we were capable of it, but didn't know that was going to happen. So hats off to the running backs. There was a point, talking about the footing all day, and my daughter turned to me and she said, they're really slipping around out there. And I'm not comparing what they do like the Masters golf tournament where they talk about waxing the greens, the way a ball will, they could do a 6-foot putt, ends up being a 40-foot runner. But, I turned to her and I said, soccer players, they run and slide on grass all the time, and they never get grass burns, and they never get peeled up by the grass. I said one of the reasons is because the way they keep those soccer pitches, the way they grow that grass, the way they maintain it is kind of for that reason, kind of lends itself to being a little bit more slippery. And of course, we saw it today. Thankfully, it wasn't much more damp or humid. It was a bit humid there, but cool and humid. But it's the same for both teams, so it wasn't going to be an excuse. Just the fact that. I was worried in pregame when I saw every time Tom would throw a practice a ball in pregame, he was looking at his foot. He was checking out his cleats. And I was like, okay, are they going to go to the locker room? Are they going to go to a deeper cleat? What are we going to do? But fortunately, when, rubber met the road and the offense was going off today, the slips weren't there except for that one play. They were able to lock it down, and it was just a fantastic game. Not a rocking chair game by any stretch of the imagination, as Harry, the Greek professional handicapper, would say. But definitely a fun game to watch today. You lock it down. You get the rest of the Sunday to enjoy football. These Bucs will have an extra extended bye week, if you will. They got the bye week. Now they got 2 weeks to get ready and just continue having a great, a little bit of fun here in 2022, because really that's what it comes down to. Have some fun. The victories and the success will come with it. Just keep it all in perspective. It's one game, but let's keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going as they win 2 straight now after beating the Rams and now beating Seattle. Somebody's honking. I don't know why. I guess the Bucs won. Good game, but what was scary is the lack of adjustments of the defense at the end of the half. I mean, the second half. Yeah, but at the end of the day, the defense is definitely going to be on their heels, but you knew that this offense was going to come out with urgency. That's exactly what they did. But once again, This Buccaneer team was up for the task. They didn't give up any real big plays. Although, that fourth down pass by Geno Smith was pretty amazing in itself. I can't believe he threaded it to Tyler Lockett there. Great catch, catching the ball, how difficult it is. But besides that, I didn't really see, the major big plays giving up. You didn't see the major gashes by that run game. So, yes, they did. There was some lack of adjustments there by the defense, but you knew also that Pete Carroll and that coaching staff was going to have something for that second half because they are a good team. They're 6-3 coming into the game.
Great teams make adjustments. That's what the Bucs have always been known. It's what we did with Super Bowl 55 when that defense came out of nowhere. I mean, we knew the defense was playing great in that postseason, but they came out and they shut down those Kansas City Chiefs. I know what I know what Paul was saying earlier about having Joe Tryon play so far off the line. But, that look at what happened that initially there and early in the game when you had Joe Tryon and you had your defensive linemen dropping back into linebackers position, you had your inside linebackers coming up and playing outside defensive line. Just a little bit of a change up just took them out of their rhythm. And that's, one thing that you didn't want the Seattle Seahawks to do. We said Geno Smith is not going to throw for 500 yards. He's not going to rush for 200 yards. He's not going to Josh Allen you. But they were just successfully plodding along and playing a conservative game, but doing what they needed to do to win. The Buccaneers the Buccaneers came out with a great game plan. And I think the most important thing that these Buccaneers learned today with a new coach, with Todd Bowles now as the head coach, is they learned how to win. They learned how to win with this stuff. It wasn't a conservative game plan, but it wasn't, other than the one play, they didn't just throw a bunch of things at the wall to see what would stick. They actually realized, wow, when we lock it in and we play as a team, we really can take the world by surprise. And that was one of the things I'm sure that the NFL Network and I'm sure ABC, they have to sell it as, this, that, and the other. Oh, Seattle, they look pumped up. They look inspired. And then, I thought it was in really bad taste, of course, in the pregame. They're talking about that Geno Smith has earned a new contract. And I thought to myself, I mean, you got to talk about what you're going to talk about, but it's almost like when a kicker goes out for a last second field goal and he never misses from here. Of course, you feel like they put the boots on him. And I turned and I said, look, Geno Smith has done enough in 2022 to get that respect and get that contract with the Seattle Seahawks. But, going into it, I turned to my son and I said, well, let's see what the Bucs can do as far as making that as minimal a contract as possible. And Geno Smith didn't play that badly today. The Buccaneers just played a lot better. And I think we all enjoyed it.
All right, let's go back out to the comments here. Let's go out to Misador. Good game, but okay, so we talked about the adjustments. I'm sorry. Tim says Pittsburgh up 10-0 over the New Orleans Saints. That's always a good thing. Anytime the Taints lose, we as America win. That's a good comment.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Let's go out to Misador again. Game ball goes to Eric Dickerson. Rashard White. 22 for 105, and it certainly looks like this kid definitely was up for the task himself today. He can give you so much in this game, and I love the stiff arm on Diggs there. Basically pushes him out of the way. It's kind of the attitude all day long, the game plan. We're going to run the ball. We're going to punch you in the mouth, and White was definitely a big part of it.
You talk about my favorite play of the game. It wasn't so much just the play, but, situational football, if you will. Rashad picks up that big first down, and he goes to do your typical, first down. He's going to show first down, but I love it. For a rookie, you don't expect this. He goes to do it, and he pulls it way back reserves and just goes, first down. And I'm like, that. And I turned to my son. I said, he's not play. That's not a rookie. This doesn't look like a rookie. That's not a guy that looks like he hasn't been here before. And he hasn't. We knew that coming out of Arizona State. We knew this kid could catch the ball out of the backfield. If anything, the Buccaneers today, probably one of the most important things beside the victory is today, they put a lot of stuff on tape that defenses are going to have to plan for. And by doing that, they've also inevitably opened up more of their playbook because they'll make more things available to them because they have the confidence to do it. But defenses are also going to have to prepare for the fact that this team is not 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They're going to have Julio. They're going to have Chris Godwin. You're going to have Mike Evans. You're going to have Cade Otton. You're going to have a backfield. You're going to have an offensive line getting healthy. Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. And you speak of Julio Jones. How excited were you when Julio gets the shallow cross there and then basically old Julio Jones style turns on those jets, goes for 31 yards and a touchdown? It seems like the guy maybe found the fountain of youth, if you will. Maybe he's a little bit more healthy than the Bucs are leading on because he certainly was a big part of this game plan once again, and it was nice to see him get involved in it, right?
Yeah, they go to the sideline after that play. They go to a commercial break. They come back. It's 90 to 120 seconds later, and he's still out of breath. He's still feeling the jazz. He's still Julio Jones. And, I think there's some Buccaneer fans out there that may not have realized. And, of course, I think everybody at this point knows who Julio Jones is. He played in our division, was one of our opponents, for the Falcons for quite a few years. And Buccaneers seem to always be able to have a game plan for him, but he did get off. But I think that there's some Buck fans out there that may not have realized. Go back and watch that. He turns on those, I call them the flip rubble bubble wheels, because they were like the Flintstones lifting the car. He catches that ball, goes across the middle, and all of a sudden he turns the jets on, and you're like, whoo, that's the Julio Jones I remember.
Yeah, that's the reason why you gave him a $6 million contract, even though, and again, 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games. That's encouraging. Now he could possibly get healthy. Another wide receiver that really stepped up today that led them, it led that room today was Chris Godwin. How excited were you to see him? Because it looked like old Chris Godwin, looked like the old Chris Godwin, if you will, catching balls in traffic, making some fantastic catches on 3rd down, and of course, sealing it off with that touchdown.
And blocking. I mean, we saw Chris Godwin in there blocking, and he was blocking like an animal. And you're like, that's what was going on, this year, is that there was and then Tom talked about this, and, there were certain players, he wasn't calling anybody out by name, but he said there were certain players that weren't, fully engaged, or they weren't really playing up to their potential. And it doesn't have to be, it can be a superstar, or it can be a first-year starter. It can be a Luka Decky at left guard, or it could be a young wide receiver, or even a veteran wide receiver. I think that because, and I said this to you Wednesday, Pete, I hadn't seen a Buccaneers team that had given up in 2022. That's what gave me a little bit of pause for, pause for celebration, if you will, is because this team, we all realized the talent that they have. We all know what they can do. We've seen it only 2 years removed from a championship, but there was just here and there breakdowns. And, all of a sudden they run that delay to the left side, and it ends up, I think White kicked it outside, and it picked up a good, and like you said, Pete, he's got great patience, but it depended on some blocks, whereas maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that block wasn't there, and then the defensive line would penetrate the backfield and make that tackle for a loss. Instead, today it's going for positive yards. Just loved it today, start to finish. It's one game at a time from here on out. Same thing we did in 2020. Just take it every week. We're going for 1-0, and let's just string them together and see what we can do. Let's see how we can finish this thing off.
And I think the team, again, they responded to Tom Brady's comments, because he talked about effort, especially on game day. It seemed like Brady wanted to fire this team up. This team came out. They set the tone, 14-0. Once again, 2 long drives. And then how important was Devin White today? I mean, he's a captain on this team. He's been called out by Warren Sapp lately. He just lost his father a couple days ago. Just an amazing effort by that young man.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers out to Devin and his family, and on the loss he had. And but the way he stepped up today, that's the reason why he's got that C on that jersey. And 100% he stepped in there today, and how important it was to have him flying around, because he's a game changer. He really is. We got a lot of game changers on this team, but when Devin's playing, when he's covering the run and shadowing the quarterback or the running back, and then also giving you the speed, the sideline to sideline speed he has, he's a game changer. And he was a big part of this game today. It was very encouraging, because you wonder, like when you saw Fournette last week had a little bit of a, when Rashard White goes over to him and says, "We're going to need you." And you realize, this is harkening back to the problems that maybe Leonard had, in 2020, when Coach Arians, told him to go to the locker room and figure things out. Even today, he realizes White, the rookie, starts, but he's in there because he's still an important part of this team. He's still going to be an important piece. Hope that hip injury is not as serious. He seemed like he was still walking around on the sidelines, probably going to be a long flight back from Germany. Although for all the Buccaneers with that victory today, that flight's probably not going to seem as long as it could have been.
Yeah, absolutely. A great flight home. They're going to get an opportunity here in the next couple of weeks to get healthy. And who knows, maybe something happens with Gronk. Although going back to Cade Otton, somebody mentioned this, that he was kind of channeling his Gronk ways. I mean, he's definitely become a dependable option. Maybe the stats don't show it, but every time you see Brady going across the middle, it's usually to Otton or Godwin. Talk about Otton.
Just, that's the reason why they get the Washington Husky. You bring him in here, and, they realize they get Keefe. We've seen him make a catch or two, but he's a monster at blocking. But Cade Otton, God, I hate to make these comparisons, but being Bucs analysts, I will. Cade Otton is almost immediately stepping in. He's kind of being what we kind of were hoping that what OJ was going to be, what OJ Howard was going to be. I'm not saying that Cade Otton immediately has that speed that OJ had coming out of Alabama, but instantly over the middle, but also his blocking skills, it's just really starting. That's kind of what I mean when I go to the fact that the entire playbook is opening up now before this team, because they've got pieces at every position. And then I think it was Curtis, when you and Paul and Curtis were talking about, and he said, just imagine if you've got a healthy Julio with a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin and a Cade Otton and a running back, and then to get that offensive line continuing forward. I mean, no championships are won here in November. Got a long ways to go here, but all of a sudden, where 3 weeks ago everybody was like, running out of the house because it was on fire, and now it's like, hey, hold on a minute, this might get pretty good. Let's see where this might go.
And Alexander is agreeing with you at this point. Shut up, Alexander. He's I don't know. He won't shut up at this point. We're in his apartment, and he wants to bark like a freak. Let's go out to Tim here. Even Darden had a decent game. It would be nice. Field position, though, was definitely a key to it for this defense and putting Seattle with their backs against the wall. Shut up, Alexander.
He wants to go out.
Hey, I took him out early this morning when I had to get up. Jay Carmona, I think he hears something outside. Jay Carmona, once again, I call him the punk god, and he really has. I mean, talk about his game.
Just loves this guy. I mean, just an athlete from a pure athletic standpoint. They talked about this when he was at Georgia. Not just a punter. He's a gamer, and having had a chance to actually get up close and personal with him at that Miami Dolphins preseason game, I'm like, he just had this aura about him. It didn't feel like it was just a punter. I mean, he felt like of course, the punter in 2022, he's been quite important to this team, Jake Camarda. But, even getting up close to him, you're like, this guy's a pure athlete. I would not put it past the Buccaneers. I'm sure you'll see it because I saw him practice it once or twice in the preseason, that there may come a time where the Bucs may be able to utilize that kid on a fake punt or, in some other capacity other than just booting the ball, which, by the way, he's leading the league.
64-yard punt again. Amazing.
Unbelievable. I love it because, I grew up a big fan of Ray Guy. I remember, Tom Tupa, who currently 74 yards, has that, record tied with Jake Camarda. Remember when Reggie Roby came here.
Sean Landetta.
Oh, Sean Landetta. Who did I say?
You
Tom
said
Tupa.
Tom Tupa, yeah.
That was because Paul mentioned him. Yeah, mentioned the Tom Tupa on that punt. But I got a fascination with these guys because they can have such a, they want to make fun of these guys. Are they real football players, a kicker or a punter? And they can be so important to your team. And, if the fourth round kid out of Georgia, everybody, I knew it going into the season. We talked about where the Bucs were going to try to save some money. We knew that a Bradley Pinion, who's now with the Falcons, or where the Bucs could possibly try to cut some corners. Where was Jason Light going to make these decisions? And quite a prescient decision to draft a kid out of Georgia, and now he's one of the very important pieces of your team, because even a great offensive team is going to have situations where they need a punter who can lock it down, and Jake seems to be able to not only pin him inside but also boot the crud out of that ball.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would definitely like to see more field position out of Jalen Darden, although he's done a better job there. Still see him going out of bounds and maybe just going down. He's got that explosive nature to him, so I'd like to see more out of him. We'll see what happens. Shut up, Alexander, as he is alerting me that somebody's here, but I don't think anybody's here besides my sister at this point. We're on the Sports Web Live here with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I mean, the first two drives there are the long drives, 26 or 174 yards on those two drives. And once again, that really did set the tone for this team. You get up 14-0, and then once again, you're basically able to open up your playbook and start to do that pass play action, which you do down the middle. You're able to have those big plays, which for me, the more pass play action you can go with Brady, the better off you are.
Yeah, and I just going back and talking about the Seattle and the weapons, I love seeing DK Metcalf get frustrated. I love the fact, of course, Lockett still had a pretty good catch there late in the game. They were still able to, But give it to our secondary. Of course, it was predicated upon that rush up front and the way our linebackers and our midfield were playing. But our secondary just was really able to make it quite a long day for Geno Smith today. Geno was thinking about pulling it down a lot more than he did, but then he realized he didn't want to pull it down as much as he probably should have or could have, but it probably for good reason because he doesn't want to get hit. I love the fact. Let's go ahead and talk about the fact that I love the fact that the officials went ahead and they picked the flag up on the Levante David hit. That was he went into a slide. Levante was going for the ball. There was no contact to the head. That's one of those right on the line as we continue to find that middle ground or that gray area for the protection of our players and quarterbacks for chronic traumatic encephalopathy and trying to do away with some of the needless hitting. You're always going to need DBs to stick wide receivers to try to loosen the ball away from them. You're going to, even if a quarterback goes into a slide, he waited till the very last second to go into that slide, but before he actually went down, Levante went after the ball, just happened to go across him. I love the fact that now I wonder if Seattle fan feels the same way. They'll be like, well, they should have kept that flag. No, that was clean. There was no late hit. I love Levante. The veteran Levante David just said, no, there was no flag. And you saw the one official looking up at the replay board as they're trying to review it. Maybe we don't need to go full on. We don't have to go maybe full on challenge review on those plays. But if you've got video evidence and they're able to look at something in real time and go, yeah, there was no egregious hit there. There was nothing meant there. That doesn't hurt the game at all. I mean, if we'd have been on the other end, Pete, I'd have said the same thing. If it would have been a linebacker doing the same thing for Tom Brady and they ate the flag the same way, I kid you not, I would have said the same thing. It was a good pickup. And I think that they're going to have to utilize stuff like that to be able to protect the players, but yet also walk that fine line between also continuing to let these players play.
Yeah, and somebody, an old friend of ours, Johnny Dean, says 31 run plays, 30 pass plays. That's the formula to winning football. Again, it's all about the balance, and let's see if the Bucs can do that. Let's see if the Bucs can possibly get back Gronk, possibly get OBJ. I mean, at this point, have you shut the door on that? Talking to TJ Reeves yesterday of the Buccaneer Radio Network, he hasn't heard anything. I mean, what do you say? Give me a percentage on, if you think Gronk could possibly come back in a Buccaneer uniform, or do you think that door is closed at this juncture?
Gronk's been conspicuously quiet, if you will. You still see a pop-up. You'll still see a social media post. Hey, look, my hair looks the same as it did when I was in high school and I was a grunger or what have you. And as far as the OBJ thing, I think that maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when it seemed like this ship was listing a little bit, that maybe some of these players might have went, it's nice, but, I'm there, I'm gone, I'm okay. I'm not, because, let's be honest, that either one of them come back for a stretch run or for a run down the end here. Neither one of them is going to get rich from that move. The Buccaneers do not have the cap space. Nor do I honestly think, Peter, that they're in a situation where they have to go and spend and break the bank to get an OBJ. Do they have to run it, especially now with Kate Otten and O'Keefe and then Cam Brate looking good since he came back from the concussion protocol? Would I like to have them? Sure, but I think that what it's going to do is give it a couple more weeks. Get to December. That's when OBJ's fully healthy, and that's when the Buccaneers, hopefully, they're continuing that course where they're looking like, okay, they're going to have the home field advantage. Maybe they get into guys, it's still 6 weeks left here of football, or I'm sorry, 7. Maybe the Bucs still get to a place where they could conceivably host 2 postseason games. Maybe there's a way that a wild card team or something can upset somebody. Because let's be honest, it's one thing. I know we kid around saying that the NFC is just bad this year, but I just think that there is a lot of parity in this league. In the NFC. There are some stinkers, and there's some great teams, but like with the Minnesota Vikings playing against the Bills today, there are teams that are, or even with the Philadelphia Eagles, they haven't encountered much of a hindrance to their undefeated season so far, but they're still in the same division with Dallas and with the Giants, who are looking good. There's still a road that the Buccaneers, not only do they could possibly host that first game by being a winner of a division, but they could possibly still put themselves into a strong enough contention to host a couple of postseason games. And I think that that's where you'll see an OBJ, or maybe even if Gronkowski's even thinking about coming back, you'll see him go, okay, let's do this. You guys could use me. I'm going to come back. Well, it'll be a feel-good thing. You guys can throw me a little coin, throw me some Bitcoin, and I'll come back and play. At this point, though, moving forward, I'll also be just as happy with the 53 we have in the room right now, because I still see a team that's maturing, getting better by the day.
Yeah, they're getting better, and I think you said it best. They're learning how to win in adverse situations. Of course, this team, not only with Devin White and Tom Brady and all the distractions off the field and on the field struggles. But now, once again, being 5-5, you have to feel good about going into the bye week and once again getting healthy. Give me some final thoughts here, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, as your Tampa Bay Buccaneers take care of business over the Seattle Seahawks in Germany.
I like the fact that like I said, the national media, they were all focused on Seattle. Seattle's this. They're doing so phenomenal. And, of course, that narrative's been nice. Russell Wilson's now a Bronco, and he's not having success there. And Pete Carroll's doing a great job. And, the 12th man. And there were a lot of 12 jerseys I heard before the game there, Seattle Seahawks fans. I like the fact that the Bucs beat the Rams last week, and then they faced some pretty good adversity, the international travel, and a Seattle Seahawks team that's got quite a few people on their bandwagon this year, if you will. And they were able to face that adversity, and they found themselves. And, that was the biggest thing. The record is always important, but the biggest thing for me, the biggest disappointment in 2022 was that we had seen a team that did not have their identity. They hadn't found their identity. And now I think what the identity the Buccaneers have found is that when we play together, we can play pretty good. And so moving forward, it gives them a little bit extra, run a couple of extra gassers, throw in a couple of extra reps in practice, and lock it in and get ready because, man, this ride's just getting started, and it's going to be one hell of one.
Love it. Good stuff there, Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution, all right?
Brother, thank you, Peter. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, there you go. A happy Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. A happy Bucs fan base.
How about them Bucs, baby?
All right, let's go back out to the comments here. Tim says Seattle's punter had a 70-yard punt today. That he did. That was a great no call against Levante. I saw where the ref clearly missed a call where the Seattle defender grabbed Rashard White's face mask. They missed that call, so maybe it was a makeup for that. And let's go out to Tim here. During the game, the announcer said that Brady said Gronk was finished. You know who's finished? The Seattle Seahawks today as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take care of business 21-16 to move to 5-5. Now they go on their bye week. We'll see what happens with Gronkowski, OBJ. Lots of reports out there, possibly the San Francisco 49ers, the Buffalo Bills, the Rams, the Cowboys, the usual suspects as we always talk about with the teams right now in contention. But don't be surprised, although it was good to see Julio Jones today healthy. And if he's healthy, is there really a need for OBJ at the end of the day? On top of it, once again, you go into the bye week, possibly get back a Russell Gage, which would definitely help this wide receiving room. Guys are stepping up, not only Jones, but also Scotty Miller stepping up today, getting some big third down conversions. Probably would have had a touchdown if he doesn't jump for it. Jumps for it, ball pops up, still catches the ball, which puts the Bucs in the driver's seat, if you will, for puts them in business there for first and goal. Could have been a touchdown there, but it wasn't. But at the end of the day, the key is for these guys to continue to step up, and they are finding an identity. And I think Rashard White is the running back going forward for this team, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You got to stay committed to it. And the more balanced you are, once again, the more dangerous this team becomes. Because we know what Tom Brady thrives off of, pass play action. And when you can do that, then you can have things open up all over the field, especially downfield. Thanks to all the guests today. Of course, Paul Stewart at buckpower.com. Check that out. No quarter given. Yours truly, along with Jason Powers. Powers on Sports podcast, as we will recap the game and probably do a Bucs summary of the first half of the year, because the first half is in the books. Thank God for that. Thanks to, of course, Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports, and Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, and all the calls. Just keep on giving the stars. Like and follow the Sports Web on YouTube. Like I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and Amped Up Sports. And, of course, do three things as your Tampa Bay Buccaneers take care of business early, 21-16 over the Seattle Seahawks, going to 5-5, going to the bye week in pretty good shape. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And Bucs fans, it's your time. Happy Victory Sunday as your Bucs win 21-16. Have a great day.